What's up, y'all? I'm Andy Story with Poster Grind. I design movie posters for a living as an art director. And a while back, a friend of mine asked me if I knew how to recreate this Nike shoe with neon outlines that they found on the amazing website Design Inspiration. Now, I don't know who the original artist is. If you're out there, let me know. If you know of who created this, let me know so I can give credit. But the idea of this tutorial is to take that piece of scrap and try and recreate it. I went into this tutorial not knowing exactly how to do it, but I had enough skill sets in my tool belt to be able to move forward, make a couple mistakes, make some adjustments, and at the end create a pretty cool piece of artwork. And it's similar to the inspiration that we found at Design Inspiration. The goal of this tutorial is to get you comfortable working with a pen tool and using the pen tool to create a brush stroke and to turn that brush stroke into a neon effect, and then of course to add some color with some hue saturation, colorization, adjustment layers, blending modes, and all that other fun stuff. So let's dive on in.
What?
All right, guys and gals, go ahead and fire up that Photoshop. Let's get rocking on this tutorial. As you can see, we have an Air Jordan in front of us. This is an image I picked up over at unsplash.com for free, and I like to use Unsplash for stuff every now and then to practice or to make things for my personal projects, and that's what I would consider this. And today we are going to try and make this. Basically, as I was saying in the intro, somebody asked me if I knew how to do this to this shoe, this Nike, and I said maybe. And I said I would try to make a tutorial and show you how to do this. And what we're gonna do is take a stab at it. I know a couple of things that are going on with these lines. I'm pretty sure I know how to do that. I'm pretty sure I know how to get some of this blur, and I'm pretty sure we can execute. So let's go ahead and give it a spin and try. So first things first, head to Unsplash, try and find a Nike Air Jordan. And then what you're also going to need is, and I don't know if they use that on the original piece, but I would suggest just getting some smoke. I picked this up over at Envato Elements, and I do have a subscription there. And if you guys do sign up using the link below, we get a small commission for referring them business. Or look for something for free on Unsplash. But if you are a professional designer, you are eventually going to want to get licensed material, and that place, Envato, does have licensed stock photography and other assets. And the only other thing I got at Envato was just this white brick background, which we can probably do something cool with. Maybe get it. For now, go ahead and create yourself a background group, Command G, and then let's just make our background black for now, or a dark gray, I should say. Something like that. And first things first is let's go ahead and mask out this shoe using the pen tool. If you're new to the pen tool, I highly suggest the tutorial where I show you how to use the pen tool by cutting out a gun and replacing it with a older gun. But for now, I'm going to speed up this video. Just use the pen tool and mask this shoe out. And there you have it, folks. We have a masked out Air Jordan. Now let's bring back our piece of scrap that we're trying to mimic or replicate. And if anybody knows this artist, please comment below and let me know who did this. I think it's pretty cool. So I want to give some credit where credit is due. Let's start working on our line work. And to do that, we're just going to use the pen tool and then stroke the pen tool using a brush, or I don't know how you explain it, but the pen tool creates a path and it allows you to have a stroke option and create the size of the brush and hardness, and it's really useful, especially when you're doing this kind of stuff. So to start off, let's go ahead and get the pen tool out. Again, it should already be out, and then we're just going to create some paths and then turn the paths into different layers. So for right now, we're going to create a new layer, and then we're just going to actually, I don't want the paths to be touching, so I'm just going to kind of do something like this. And we have a path. Now I just want to make sure that our brush is going to be the right size. So hit B, and we haven't done anything to the path yet, but we want to size down our brush because this is the size it's going to use to stroke the path. So you can kind of size it up however you want it. We'll do 7 pixels. So right now it's on 7 pixels. And then I want the hardness to be like up around, I don't know, let's try 86, I guess. Sure. see what happens. And now we're just going to hit P for the pen tool, right click or bottom click on your pen. And oh, the other thing I forgot to mention, go back to brush, make sure our flow is on 100% and opacity is at 100. All right, so now go back to pen tool, P, right click, and stroke path. And it's gonna bring up your brush tool, just leave it on brush, hit OK, and it has stroked our path, which is awesome. But what is not awesome is I wanted it to be white. So go ahead and hit Command Z to backtrack, go over to your color picker and just bring up white. And then let's try that again. Right click, stroke path, brush, okay. And now we have a white path, which looks good. And then we're just gonna replicate this wherever we wanna have our lines. So you can kind of look at the scrap and see how they're doing it there. And it's not perfect. It's kind of like certain areas are not lined in, which kind of gives it the abstract, edgy, cooler feel anyway. So do whatever you think is cool. I'm just gonna go ahead and stroke paths using new layers. So you're gonna wanna each one do a new layer because in here there's different colors, and once we get further, you're gonna see why we wanna have a new layer because we only want that color to affect that particular layer. So let's see what happens. Let's get this bottom piece. So I'm gonna kind of piece this together so we don't have overlapping line work. And the easy way to do that is we're just gonna path this right now, or stroke the path, and then hit delete, delete to get rid of that path. And then we're just gonna do another line starting from right here. And we're gonna stroke that path, hit OK, delete, delete. And now we have our bottom part of the shoe. You can always take a look and see how your lines are looking. And on that, I had the path still there. You can go ahead and delete it to get rid of it. No big deal. And so that's our line work for now. Now we're going to create a new layer, bring back our shoe. And then I'm just going to kind of go in and do new layers and then just kind of put line work wherever I think it's going to look good, similar to what they did on that piece of scrap. And then I'll see you guys back here in a few, and then we'll get working on the neon effects. All right, we have our paths completely stroked, ready to go. That's kind of how it's looking. Similar to our scrap, looks cool. Got the Jordans rocking. And now what we want to do is start turning these lines into some neon using some layer styles. So to do that, go to your bottom layer. Actually, let's get a little bit organized here. Let's just turn these lines into a group called, we'll just call them neon lines because that's what we're going to be doing to them. So neon lines. All right, here's the fun stuff. Let's go ahead and turn all of these neon, or all these white lines into neon lines. So let's go and check our layers. So we're just going to start with one and do the neon effect to one layer. And then we're just going to copy and paste those effects to the rest of these layers. And then we'll be able to change the colors and make it cool, but you'll kind of see. So for now, just go ahead and double click that first layer you want to work with. And we're gonna go to the layer style and go all the way down to inner glow, but reset to default. So we start from fresh, and then we're gonna wanna just put our blend mode to normal. Our opacity, we can crank this up to 100%. And then we just wanna do our color. And you can kind of pick whatever color you want. I'm just gonna try and stay somewhat consistent with the scrap over here. It's kind of like this pinky purple. I don't know, we'll try that for now. Hit OK. You can leave our technique at softer's fine. And then make sure your source is over on edge. And then you can kind of zoom in and see what these other elements are going to do for you. So this choke, not doing a whole lot. Size, so the size is the important one. You kind of want some white coming from the middle, so it gives it a little bit of 3D neon. So at 4 pixels, and then go back up to your choke. Going to leave it at 10% for now. The next layer style we're going to want to mess with. Actually, let's go ahead and copy this number in case we want to, our color number. So in case we want to keep it consistent, it's up to you. And you just go to the color panel, click that, and then copy and paste over here at this hashtag. So Command C, and then we can use this if we want to on our next line over here on our next layer. Let's go check out the outer glow. Yeah, reset to default, and we can just put the blend mode to normal for now. And our opacity, let's crank it up, and this is where we can put in our color because we want that to stay consistent. So go here and then down here, just copy and paste our color back like that, or make sure your technique's at softer, that's fine. And then we can start messing around with the spread and the size. And the spread's kind of like the strength, and the size is how much that light dissipates. Yeah, we'll just leave it like that for now. We can just go ahead and mess with our drop shadow. So go ahead and reset to default and then go back to our color. And then we want to have that same exact color if you want. So you can go ahead and hit the hashtag Command V, copy that color. And then you can kind of play with the blend modes depending on what your background is. Some people like to use multiply. Some people like to use color dodge. It's up to you. So, and then you can play with the opacity, which will look better when we have a background. So I think we'll have to maybe come back to this and mess around with it. But for now, you want to keep your distance at 0. And then you don't want the spread to be too, well, we can have the size come out a little bit and then drop with the spread at the same time. And we'll just leave that. And like I said, all this stuff is easily editable to when we get closer to wanting to make sure everything is looking awesome. Because when you zoom out, it's a little strong right now. So we might go back in and fix that. Actually, let's fix that right now. So I'm dropping the outer glow to 6 pixels and then the drop shadow, something like that. So you see the FX right there. So we're just going to hit Option, hold it down, and then drag the effects up to that next layer. And then we can pretty much just do this to every layer. And then we'll just go back in and change the colors for certain areas like the scrap. So hit FX, Option, drag up. Cool. And then let's kind of figure out this. Let's get this Nike logo a different color. Let's figure out where that's at. All right, so let's just go in to our layer styles by double clicking and then fix this glow to something bluer like that. Actually, let's go ahead and copy that number. Let's see if this is going to work with the other. All right, so I just kind of played around with the color, and you guys can do the same. It's totally subjective. I totally forgot to add this in the video when we were making it. If you like what you're seeing, you like what you're doing, you're learning something, please hit that like button. And now we just need to kind of add some more blue to maybe one of these other lines. And to do that, what I'm thinking is we're going to make a copy of this layer, of this middle layer. So hit Command J, and then we're going to get that blue from the Nike and just add it to that layer. And then we're going to mask out some of these outer layers so that the purple comes back, or pink. So I'm just going to go back to the layer styles and change out these colors to the same exact one from the Nike logo. And it's already in my clipboard because I just did this. Now I'm just going to add a layer mask. So go to the mask icon, hit B for brush, and then I'm going to paint away at 4% on black, and then let some of that pink color from the bottom come through. And then to make it more powerful, we're just going to turn this into its own group and do one more mask. So it's a little technical. So hit Command G and make another group, another mask on that group. And now let's paint that out like that. So you have these really cool subtle transitions of brightness throughout the line work. So I like that, and we'll just leave it like that for now, and we can come back and mess around with it later if we want to. Now these lines are, you can see they're kind of above, so we're just going to drop these 3 lines down below, select the 3 lines or whatever lines you want, and put them below our other lines like that. And now we're going to turn that into its own group, so hit Command G, and then we're going to add a layer mask and just kind of paint out these areas here as well. You know what, I don't really like that. We'll just leave it like that for now. Just hit Command Z a few times. Let's just bring that back to normal. We'll worry about that later, but we do want that to be below the other line work. And then let's put this one, whoops, like that, so that it's below the other lines. And I hope you guys kind of understand what I just did there. It should make sense. Now we are going to make a copy of all this line work so that we're able to kind of tweak it and adjust it. And to do that, all we need to do is get rid of our other layers, our background included, and then we're going to hit Command J just to have an extra copy, and then we're going to do new layer, and then we're going to hit Shift Option Command E, and that's going to copy all of that line work. You can see what I'm talking about. So just made a copy, and I think this will allow us to do some cool effects as well. So we have this, our original line work, a copy, and then this. So between the three of these, we should be able to make something cool. Let's just try and do one more copy. So new layer, Shift Option Command, well, actually get rid of our background. Shift Option Command E, and now we have 2 copies to play with, a bunch of copies actually. Now we're gonna make some copies of this as well and blur this out. This is gonna be in the background a little bit. So hit Command J, and then we're gonna turn this into a smart object, right click, convert to smart object, and then make another copy. So we have that. And we can just put our original mask down here in the background in case we have to go back to it. But for now, I think we should be good on these. And we can start playing with the blur for our shoe. And what I want to do is darken it out. So maybe we can just use a little exposure and then do a clipping mask by hitting Option Command G. And then let's just see if we can drop the exposure like that. So we get a little bit of the subtleness of the shoe coming through. And now we're just going to turn that into a smart object by right clicking, convert it to smart object. And then we're going to go up to filter, blur, motion blur, and then just mess around with this like that. And then we're going to hit Command J, make a copy, and then click on the motion blur again. Just see what happens when we start moving it around the angle, because it's kind of going in different directions like that. Hit Command J again, hit double click motion blur. Let's just get another angle, maybe play with the distance like that. Let's do one more. Motion blur. Like that. It looks a little crappy now, but I think once we start adjusting this and playing with the layers, we'll get something that's going to look a lot more awesome. And speaking of awesome, let's get the smoke going. So go ahead to your smoke layer that has a black background. I want this going from the other direction. So I'm going to hit Command T, right click, flip horizontal like that. And then we're just going to use a blending mode, either screen or lighten. Like that, and then we're just going to drop this over. This is kind of like an added thing. I don't know if it's going to work or not. And we're just going to add a little blur. So go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. I'm just going to use 8.2 pixels, hit OK, and then add a mask. Go to the mask icon, hit Command I, invert it, hit B for brush. Make sure you're painting with white. White reveals, and we're just going to paint some of this. Now we can do Hue Saturation. So go to your adjustment layer, Hue Saturation, Option Command G, and then go to Colorize. We can color that smoke. And then you can increase the saturation and the lightness. And then we can go back down to that mask and kind of paint where we want more smoke coming in and less going out. Now, I don't know if we'll keep that, but for now we'll leave it like that. Now let's go check out our neon lines, or actually let's start messing around with our shoes. Where you want them. And you don't have to use all of them. You can kind of use what you want. Decrease the opacity, or just let's group those. These are going to be called, this group is going to be called blurred shoes. And you can kind of decrease the opacity if you want some of that Air Jordan to show back up like that. And then I want to desaturate that. So I'm just going to go to Hue Saturation, attach it, Option Command G, and then just desat it like that. And I think what we can do on these blurred shoes is try and change the colors. So we're going to go back up to Hue Saturation above one of the blurred shoes, Option Command G, go ahead and colorize and see if this does anything. All right, so like that, and then we're just going to go ahead and colorize the other ones. And it doesn't have to be the exact same color. If there's a little fluctuation, it's kind of cool. So go to Hue Saturation, Option Command G, colorize. And right now it's looking really bright, but we'll tone it down for sure. Do that again for this other blur. This one will try and make it a little more blue. Kind of guessing. Now these top layers are a little strong, so what we can do is paint them out. So I'm just going to group them, and we can name each one the color. So this one's going to be blue, and then these are going to be pink. Let's go with that pink one. Going to add a layer mask, and then painting with black, we want some of that pink to go away and leave the blue in the middle. Same thing with this top one. Just going to paint away where we want the blue. Like that. And then we have that one last one with the black, and I'm not sure what to do with this guy. Maybe we'll go back to it. I'm just going to leave it like that for now. And I think what we can do is start painting underneath these layers and get start trying to create some hot spots. So we're going to go underneath our neon lines, create a new layer, and then pick a color and then start painting around the neons, kind of like an extra amount of light where we want it, some little hot spots. And then I'm gonna do another layer, and then I'm gonna paint some of the more hot pink. And then paint with some white on a new layer, see if that does anything. We might have to drop this below. Drop our hardness too, that's why we're getting a lot of the... Then I'm gonna change the blending mode to overlay. And let's see what happens when we change the blending modes for these other colors. So we'll leave the other colors on normal for now and overlay for that blue. And I think for now, we're gonna go ahead and make that background a little darker. So let's go ahead and go down to your background. Let's just make this a black and just see how that starts to look cool. And then let's see what our smoke is looking like. And then maybe, I don't know if I'm digging the smoke, but let's add a little curves adjustment layer on top and Option Command G, and then see if we can do anything with it. I think we just want to maybe mess around with the blurred shoes because I like what's going on with those. Whoops, that one's cool. That's cool. That's our blue. All right, I'm just going to add one more pink by making a completely new copy. So Option or Command J. And that's going to make our copy. And then I'm just going to go to motion blur and maybe change the angle. Maybe move it. Now let's add another layer of paint there. So then I just went to the Gaussian blur and increased the blur. And then I'm going to go to our shoe and just decrease the opacity. And now I'm going to go to our background, add a new layer, and then maybe add a little bit of gray, kind of like how that piece of scrap is doing it. That, and then maybe drop that down. Go in and tweak some stuff. Now I'm gonna do some fine tweaking and just add masks to all of our line work and then paint away certain areas that aren't working. And then on the top layer, I'm just going to add a couple bursts of color, just paint it in. And we can play with the blend mode. That linear dodge is pretty cool. And I think I like what we got going. It's not exactly the same as our piece of scrap, but I can still dig it. Now I'm just going to add a little lens flare to cheese it out. And to do that, you can just pick up some lens flares anywhere on the internet and then just change the blend mode to screen if it has a black background. And you can kind of put those wherever you want, different sizes or whatever. And there we go. I think we have ourselves a finished tutorial. I hope you guys picked up a couple things. I was freestyling the whole way. Normally I would like to have a better understanding of where I was taking it, but I think you guys kind of get the point on how to use some paths, brush strokes, neon, layer styles, and everything. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, because you know we got more of this stuff coming up in the future. That's what we do here at Poster Grind YouTube channel. See you there.